Hello! Welcome to another episode of Mega Manga Monday. Today we're talking about Jujutsu Kaisen Chapter 182, titled Tokyo Number 2 Colony Part 2. Not as creatively named chapters in this arc, but I'm still enjoying it. Hello, I am Jason Hahn, and today uh, I am joined by a couple other Screen Rant writers who write in the comic book section on that website, who also happen to be Jujutsu Kaisen fans. I am one of those guys who writes for Screen Rant as well. I write in the video game section, but I'm a huge manga fan and pretty excited to talk about this episode or this chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen. But today I have with me two guys who will introduce themselves, hopefully not at the same exact time. Steven, how are you, man?
Yeah, good. Yes, my name's Steven. I've been writing for the comic section a little over a year now, mostly manga, but other things as well. But speaking of manga, before we dive into Jujutsu Kaisen, it's a big week for Blue Exorcist fans, just because this past Sunday, I know it's on Jump Square, but the Shonen Jump app promotes the manga. But anyway, it's been on hiatus since last July,
Wow.
and it just came back this weekend. So it's a very big day for Blue Exorcist fans, myself included. So I'm glad that it's back. I'm glad that the mangaka has had some time off before she delves into the rest of her story. But it's a big it was a big cliffhanger last time we were left in Blue Exorcist land last July. So we're glad we're back on it.
Oh, good to hear. I mean, just in time because Black Clover is taking a break, so it's something to fill the whole time with.
Yeah, I mean it's only a monthly, so it's not going to be
Uh,
as yeah. But I'm just glad that she was able to take that time off. Definitely well deserved. Another highly underrated manga like Black Clover as well. So
yeah, as we definitely got illustrated in this chapter, manga artists are hard workers. Before we get more into it, Ben, how are you, man?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm Ben. I'm also a comics writer for Screen Rant. Write about manga and DC and Marvel comics. Um, yeah, and I was also excited by the monthly releases, but not necessarily for. I'm not actually caught up on Blue Exorcist, although I've heard it's great. So that'll be another thing to put on my list then.
yeah, it's just so crazy that we're going off topic, but it's like one of those where when the manga where the anime left off, like it didn't even start. Like there's like so much more that happens. It's weird that it just ended, the anime at least, because it didn't really even touch where the manga sort like really gets going. We'll see.
Maybe it will be like a Bleach, where they're just waiting for it to end and then they'll adapt the rest.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, like they've definitely planned that with Bleach. They're like, we're gonna take specifically this amount of time off, and then we'll come back to it. But
Mm.
yeah, Blue Exorcist is one of those series I have yet to try into. I'm not even sure what that's about. I'm guessing it's the sequel to the Exorcist film about the little girl who throws up and stuff.
Mm.
But yeah, we'll maybe we'll talk about that another time. Yeah, on chapter 182, Jujutsu Kaisen, we picked up right where last one left off. Two Jujutsu sorcerers, trying to find a reason to fight each other, and they did, and they're going right into it. And as soon as the chapter started, my nerdy sensibilities just popped up, and just like the Gwar staff. Oh man, I love
Mm.
Gore. It's such a great band, and nobody else gets that.
No.
No,
Sorry.
Gore is like a super heavy metal band that like puts the huge extravagant costumes on, and their shows they're like spraying fake blood all over the place and crazy moshes, and it's just they are about the most ridiculous uh band out there. Definitely look them up. They're a good time. But the G War staff seems to be this manga artist sorcerer's ability, and I really, really enjoyed it. We're kind of delving into the whole meta thing on how they're kind of getting a little bit of insight on what it's like for manga creators to create their work, and I really liked the just the kind of the little nods they do of like revealing how they format the pages and how the human eye is naturally drawn to the left panel and all that stuff. And I really liked all those little bits that they're implementing into this. But yes, I guess some stuff that popped up for this chapter for me. I kind of am very curious to hear or to discover more of these guys' powers. I'm so bad with names, and especially this one because these are two new characters we barely know. But manga,
luckily,
yeah.
yeah. Luckily for Charles, it's like
Yeah, Charles. Charles was it Charles Bernard?
yeah,
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
yeah.
Actually, I want to start just by putting a spotlight on Ben again as probably the assistant editor for Gay Gay. Because I remember in our last episode, you were saying that we'll most likely see I'm forgetting his name, but the guy that Charles
Hikari.
is fighting. Yeah, that Hikari, that we'll see his true power. And I was saying, no. That's not going to happen until we go into the Fight Club, since that's when we'll see his true power. But then this chapter ends with him he's going to do a domain expansion. And that's that's kind of taking what you were saying to the next level, Ben. Like, we'll probably see his true power soon. And it's like, oh, domain expansion.
Really are.
How about 2 chapters?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the reveal of that because the Mr. Charles's powers are helping him see into the future, and we get that nice little tease at the end. I guess the name of this other guy's powers, or the domain expansion, is Idle Death Gamble, which somebody who can see kind of in the future would probably be a great gambler. This might not work the way he wants it to be, but it was probably my favorite bit of the chapter. Actually, was in the middle of the fight. He was saying, "Man, you otakus are always finding a reason to be selfish and this and that. So I have to destroy you and like break your spirit." And I really like when it's just that that usual action movie trope of somebody, the good guy, declaring that he is just going to absolutely mop the floor with the guy he's about to fight. And I thought that was pretty well paced.
It's just so crazy, though, that we don't really know what Hikari's power is yet. So his domain expansion can literally be anything. I only read the fan translation, so I don't know what it is in the official. But they were saying that, or Charles was saying that Hikari's cursed energy feels coarse or something. I don't know how it translated in the accent.
It was like sandpaper.
Exactly it. It was like sandpaper.
Yeah, that's like the only thing we really know, like what his power could be. And I just find it so interesting because I mean, the one other time that we're kind of in the same situation was with
Itadori and Hikari's fight.
Yeah. So I mean, it's really interesting.
Yeah, and it was revealed that Hikari can use like doors.
Oh, really? Oh, I don't even remember that.
It was just like out of nowhere, these doors appeared and like closed on Itadori, and it was strange, but it never really got elaborated on further. So I'm curious how that relates to this.
I think you might be onto it there, actually, because I mean, at this point, especially when we're introduced to new characters, most anime and manga will be like, he's fast and he's disappeared, that kind of thing. It's just something that we usually shove aside, but I almost wonder if that's how he's moving around so fast. Because there's even a couple panels in this where he just appears in his blind spot out of nowhere, and he's having a really hard time tracking him and stuff. Yeah, maybe that has something to do with his abilities. Maybe he can, kind of travel pretty much anywhere he can see. A door forms or something like that. I don't know. But we're not going to really get the stepping stones to see his ability if he's instantly just going into domain expansion. That's like,
Yeah.
it's like, hey man, we need a toothpick to break this door down. Oh, okay. Well, I've got this 12 gauge shotgun. I'm going to use that instead. But what were some stuff that really stuck out for you guys in this chapter?
Well, I mean, at least for me, I mean, you definitely nailed it in your earlier intro when you're saying like how he's like his power, Charles's power, is kind of like it kind of relates back to his job or occupation or aspiring occupation to be a mangaka. Like that his power is actually really interesting because I know we were talking about before that it would be interesting if his power, and I think you guys are relating it to One Piece or something, where his power could be just like, crappy art, just because he's not a very good mangaka. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting that this is what they went with. I'm actually hoping, based on that his actual ability, since it's related to manga creating, I'm hoping that it will actually be his downfall, just because he's not a very good mangaka. So it'd just be interesting if it's actually will be his downfall. I know I'm kind of jumping ahead for our section on what you think will happen next, but that's where I'm at least.
Oh yeah,
That'd be really poetic.
Well, yeah, kind of going on Hikari's. I mean, I don't know. That'd kind of count on Hikari, possibly using his own manga knowledge to thwart him, but we're not quite sure if he is much up on the mangas. I don't know if he's read Naruto. It hasn't been revealed. I did have to look up to see what that author that he was referencing was. I have not read D. Gray Man. But
that's right. No, that's right. Oh man, this is going back to our earlier conversation for My Hero Academia. Like the translator's note that it was from D. Gray Man. It was in the fan translation, not in Shonen Jump, which is interesting. Yeah, because
I kind of love the idea that this guy is just so deluded that he, for some reason, thinks that the author comments in mangas are poems or haikus.
Yeah.
It almost makes me want to do one of those things where you print out somebody's words and then frame it like an inspirational quote, but I might do that just for some offhand Kishimoto line or something.
Yeah. And I feel like, it's a funny comment that Hikari makes where he's like, creators' comments aren't poems. I feel like it does imply that he knows a little bit about manga.
Yeah.
Because he's not like, what's a creator's comment or something like that. So, I could see him maybe at the end of the fight doing like a manga quip or something, just to beat him.
It is interesting. Oh no, go.
No, you go. I wasn't saying anymore.
Oh no, I was just like making a random comment that it's interesting. I don't know if they planned it this way, but a new chapter of D. Gray Man is either coming out or has already come out. Like after a long time, like the manga cut is basically taking their time, and it's just interesting that they make this D. Gray Man reference right when that announcement came out that the new D. Gray Man chapter is coming out.
Oh, that might be why.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if like all these mangaka sort of talk together and stuff, and Gege's like, I'm gonna throw in something there into my own manga just to sort of generate a bit more hype.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know a few of them are good friends. I would imagine that there's the opportunity for a lot of them to meet each other, and I'm sure, especially newer manga artists like Gege and that kind of thing, they have series and people that they've looked up to their entire lives. So, yeah, absolutely. I think it would be so funny if by the end of this, he quotes like Naruto or One Piece and say like, I'm gonna be king of the pirates or something like that, as just to like rub it in this manga nerd's face or something. I think that would be great. But yeah, I honestly have no idea where things could go next. I mean, that's just kind of the magic of Jujutsu Kaisen is, as you said earlier, we have no idea what his domain expansion is, and it could be about anything. um,
Yeah.
but I mean, there's a reason. I mean, that these two are pitted up against each other. The writer's going to come up with the most interesting thing that could happen with these two powers. So that almost makes me think that Hikari's domain expansion might not go as smoothly as he's hoping, because especially we keep on getting the tease of like, okay, I'm getting more blood in this thing, so now now I can see further into the future. But I'm also just very impressed that this guy's that Charles is fighting as well as he is, because he doesn't seem to be the guy who's been consistently fighting jujutsu sorcerers for the past while.
Yeah, and Hikari is, as we've said before, he's one of the strongest sorcerers that we've seen in the series, because he's one of the few that Gojo was like,
Right.
this guy could probably surpass me in a couple years. So
Yeah, it
it,
kind of
it'll,
gives me even more thought to the theory that these aren't the only two sorcerers in this area. I
yeah, it's like it's interesting because this sort of section. So this section is very much similar to like the very last section that we just left, where that section just started out where Yuta just immediately in a bunch of fights, fighting all these different sorcerers and things like that. And this section's the same way, immediately a fight between Hikari and Charles. But like, uh, I feel like this sort of section is going to be more similar to the very first section, where it was sort of Itadori and Megumi encountering more and more, like encountering a bunch of different sorcerers
mhm.
over a period of time. And I feel like that's going to happen here. Like, because this could very well just be sort of like, here's what Hikari can do. Isn't that cool? And then just moving to a completely different character. I feel like if that's going to happen, then this section will have taken like 2 or 3 chapters total. Because as you guys said, like Charles isn't really necessarily doesn't seem like the best fighter, and Hikari can probably just curb stomp him pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering if that maybe this domain expansion. Or what if Hikari or Charles sees what the domain expansion is, and then he instantly is just like, "I give up. I can't deal with that." Um, and
Yeah.
then because it's been established, especially just a few chapters ago, with the at the end of the Yuta fight, after somebody uses their domain expansion, they're sort of weakened. So
Right.
that almost seems like the best opportunity for somebody else to show up and be like, "Oh, well, let me go ahead and knock you guys out," and then it's going to turn into a Hikari and Charles versus this new threat, possibly. Uh,
Yeah,
I guess that's
that's
kind
the
of
way I'm. Yeah, that's the way I'm leaning as well. We're sort of gonna meet a bunch more new people after this sort of introductory fight.
yeah, because it would be really weird after going through 2 or 3 fights in different districts that all had half a dozen sorcerers battling it out in this dome, to just this quiet fight between these two gents. I think that would be kind of weird. So yeah, I definitely think that. I mean, we're only part 2 of this new colony, so I mean, we're still pretty
Yeah.
early in, but they've set the bar pretty high with the other colony fights so far. So yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. But I don't know. These guys don't seem like they're gonna kill each other. I think by the end of it they might be working together. But uh, Charles obviously has some mental issues to work out. um, but I'm not sure if he's so far, into the evil scale yet. He's not blasting away buildings filled with innocent people or anything like that. He just likes to break people's thumbs, but
Yeah.
they grow back.
Yeah, I mean, actually, my next comment is kind of, I think it's something that you mentioned, Jason. I think it was you. Um, how interesting their powers might complement each other. Um, so we have Charles, who, his power can kind of like looking into the future, and then pairing that off with Hikari's possible, gambling, like whatever that means.
Well,
It,
the
it,
official translation, especially if you haven't read it yet, was "idle death gamble."
yeah, with gamble, which is interesting. I mean, it's like an interesting combo, and I'm wondering if this might be another instance of Gege possibly trolling us, because it just reminds me of in the previous colony when they were matching up Utah with the bug beetle guy, because it was just because Utah, his sword has Rika's soul in it, so it has that, or the remnants of it. um so it was like a life and death type of situation there. But then the bug guy had that, the description of it was that it was a bridge between life and death. So it was kind of like a perfect pairing, but they never explored that. It was kind of just like, hey, look, these guys are perfectly suited for each other, but they're not actually following through on that. And I wonder if that
Yeah,
it
yeah.
might be like another
The
situation like that.
the last battle definitely trolled us. Gege trolled us plenty in the last battle, and
Yes, he did. Yeah.
he's proven that he's not afraid to do that. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking with this too. I think that the idle death gamble is, we might not even see what it's going to be. I mean,
Yeah,
either he's
the big
going to scare Hikari so much with it, or it's just going to be an instant win. I don't know.
yeah the biggest troll that Gege could do would be at the very end of the chapter. The chapter ends where it's like uh the Hakari's domain and curse technique rules were revealed to Charles's brain. And so we're expecting like, oh boy, next chapter is going to start with those rules being explained. Next chapter could just start with Charles being like, "Oh, I'm outmatched. I surrender. You win."
Yeah, what
And
do you want?
and then so we still won't know what the rules of it are, because Charles is just like, he just doesn't explain it to us. He's just like, "Oh yeah, I know," and that's just too powerful for me.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, and honestly, like that happened 3, 4 chapters ago with the triple domain expansion getting canceled out immediately. So I'm not sure if it would either be funny or frustrating that
maybe a
Gege
little bit of
is
both.
doing the same gag within 6 chapters. Like,
Yeah.
or it could just be an ongoing gag for the rest of the series, and we never see a domain expansion again.
No, yeah, because that is interesting. Because I mean, they used to be so few and far between, and then all of a sudden they've been coming out of the woodwork, but then nothing really comes of it.
I mean, we're to assume that Charles is, I don't know if I want to go so far as to say inept with his powers, but he
Mhm.
just seems like it's a new thing for him. So, I mean, this is going to be very far to say, but I couldn't imagine what a Charles domain expansion could be like.
Yeah, I was
There's
thinking that, but that would be like so off, like out of left field if he had a domain expansion. Because usually, like it's just the most powerful sorcerers usually have one.
yeah, and Charles
It
is
would be
definitely,
definitely. No, go ahead.
yeah, he's definitely someone who seems more like someone who views themselves as a manga protagonist, and has an inflated view of their powers, and then just like, no, you're not a manga protagonist. You're a minor secondary character, and here's why.
And here's why.
Yeah.
I think you're revealing more. Yeah, you're not convincing us that you're not an editor
Hey,
or an
you
assistant,
know,
because that
I
sounds like that will absolutely be said to Charles by the end of this fight.
I can't confirm nor deny. I'm just
I
Well,
contractually.
it it is interesting if they would do that, just because it has in other manga series, like it's always that trope has always come up. It's like, well, I'm not really the main character. I'm just a secondary character, or I want to be a protagonist type of character. And it'd be interesting if they actually bring it in because it's more relevant here.
Yeah.
It would be a funny spin, because usually they say it just poetically. It's like, oh, I'm just a secondary character. I can never be a main character. So
Yeah.
you know what? I'm more convinced now that Gege will do that, just because he's been so good at trolling that he
Yeah,
probably
just
thinks that's it.
but just take it as like my guess, don't take it as me knowing anything for sure. Just
You're starting to reveal your cards, Ben. You're starting to reveal
yeah,
your
yeah.
cards. Oh no, I mean that would be great, because I mean it's just I see Charles like getting frustrated and then declaring, saying like I'm the main character of my story, and then Hikari saying something along the lines of you're barely a tertiary character, and then knocking him out.
Mm.
But that's if things go smoothly, and as Gege has proven, he likes to set a lot of things up and then go somewhere completely different. So, um,
Yeah.
uh,
And something I can see a potential path for evolution of Charles's powers. Because this actually came to me because I was thinking of another mangaka character in a different manga, Kishibe Rohan in JoJo's.
mhm.
Um, I'm not sure if either of you have seen or read part four. Uh,
Oh yeah, yeah, I finished it
yeah.
a few months ago.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, so Kishibe Rohan is he's basically a mangaka, and his stand lets him see like people's pasts and also write things like write commands for them to do like in their manga. And it's sort of a reverse of Charles's power in a way, because Charles's power lets him see people's futures. Um, and so I could see maybe there being an extension related to the extension that Kishibe Rohan has, where it's like he can write things in their manga either to change their pasts and thus like get them to believe things about their pasts,
Hmm.
or to change their futures just by literally drawing on the pages that have their futures on it.
I think that's brilliant, and I would love it if they even if he's just like, oh, it's just like that JoJo character, like,
Yeah.
because we've established that this is supposed to be
Yeah.
kind of a realist, like in our universe, I guess, especially with the D Gray Man author shout out. Um, but I think that'd be brilliant. For anybody who's unclear, in at least in the anime version I watched, this Rohan character could essentially like stun somebody, and then their faces would turn into like pages, and he could like sift through the pages and read your entire life story and all of your secrets, because they're there in the manga, and he can even like erase it and then write whatever he wants into it. And then I
That
think
Yeah.
it's fascinating. I highly recommend. That's probably the last season of JoJo I really enjoyed, actually. But they build on that power for him, I think, later on, where he can just write. Oh, and you also know Spanish, and then just like, oh
Yeah.
wow, I can speak Spanish now. Um, and it's pretty fascinating. But I absolutely seeing that like this almost feels like the first Charles's powers almost seem like the beginning steps of that.
Yeah.
Well, no, no,
And
like, well, I just think it's interesting because, like, making parallels between JoJo and Jujutsu Kaisen. It's interesting just because there's another mangaka series, Undead Unluck, which kind of takes that concept, but to a completely different level, where well, actually, yeah, you, someone can be turned into a book. Their entire life can be turned into a book, and then you can enter it and live it in those pages,
oh,
like
that's pretty
in their
cool.
life. So it's kind of like taking that, but to a completely different level. And now they're all probably related. I mean,
Mm.
everyone knows the mangaka of JoJo's, so the mangaka
Yeah.
of Undead Unluck probably got that idea from JoJo, like Gege did here, which is
Yeah,
interesting.
it's just really cool seeing different authors take the same influence in like different directions.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
really
almost
cool.
wondering, like, I don't remember so many, you know, series kind of starting to play with like meta humor or multiverse kind of stuff. And I just feel like it's something that's definitely been on the increase over the past couple years. But then again, JoJo, they did that. I mean, when did part 4 of the manga publish? Was that like
It
15
was
years ago?
before, no, it was longer than that because part four of the manga was set in 1999, and JoJo's parts are always written before the time that they're set, or at least
Wow.
four, four through six were, I think. So, um, so yeah, it was actually written earlier than 1999. So that's like, I think 25 to 30 years ago, maybe. Um,
Yeah. Well, if you think about Naruto was ongoing for maybe about 15 years, and that was about 700 chapters, and JoJo's been going on since the 80s, I think.
Yeah,
So,
that's been going on for.
yeah, since the 80s, 8 parts, and they're long parts.
yeah.
Uh,
Um,
And yeah, no, ninth part coming out at some point, either this year or next year. Um,
wow, that's nuts. Well, yeah, I don't know anything else about this chapter that really stuck out for you guys before we get more. We've kind of already talked about what we're hoping happens next, but uh, yeah, I was really enjoying Hikari's display of I mean, he's just a good fighter, but I also like to think that he might be using his abilities kind of off screen. I think he's able to jump from location to location, maybe wherever he can see. Um, it just I barely remember his fight with Itadori, or I don't remember them really having much of a fight. Didn't they just kind
it
of like
wasn't,
talk in a
yeah,
room?
it was very like minor. The focus of that, like sort of those chapters, was more on Megumi and Panda figuring out the whole constellation cursed energy technique thing
Right,
that
with his
Hikari's
assistant
like,
lady, right?
yeah.
Uh,
But so there's a lot of mystery around this. So I'm very curious to see how that all pans out. Because it seems like if you take all of it into like account, he's got his sort of like coarse cursed energy. He's got the doors that appeared in that one fight, and now he's got this idle death gamble as the name of his domain expansion. And those three things seem like different sort of
Yeah,
concepts.
yeah.
But so it's like, what exactly is his cursed energy technique? Do he have multiple? Like, is that part of why his cursed energy is so like rough because he's got so many techniques bundled into it? Who knows?
well, yeah, especially if whatever his techniques are, they're good enough to earn the respect of Gojo.
Yeah.
I'm just I'm just gonna come in and just say I'm just really glad that Jujutsu Kaisen is here, just because there's so many other series where like the attacks don't really matter as much, and this manga has really filled that void, at least for me. I haven't been this excited about any type of technique in most series I'm reading before now, so I'm just gonna say that right here as a disclaimer.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, get more
I
caught up on One Piece,
100%.
bud.
Yeah. No.
Oh,
I was gonna say One Piece has been doing stuff lately. It's been very hype in that regard. But like I definitely think that Jujutsu Kaisen stands out of the pack, even from One Piece. Like One Piece has had its most
Oh yeah,
recent power up be like insanely hype. But in general, well, and its past power ups also have been hype. But I feel like Jujutsu Kaisen more consistently makes like every single attack even more hype because it feels like the fights in these are just like every punch matters. You know, Everything has impact. Um, and like these techniques they're just so interesting and they can be so devastating that
yeah.
like you
Well,
just want to see more.
it's especially like the difference between like this and say My Hero Academia. We don't have some magical old lady who can kiss you and all your power and you're 100% healed. Like
mhm.
people take one bad punch and then all right, that's the end of you, man. Like you're not able to move, let alone fight the other three jujutsu sorcerers who are about to show up. Like, so yeah, just the stakes, the stakes and everything just seems so much more, uh, you know, the stakes are higher definitely in Jujutsu Kaisen compared to other shonens. I feel like it's kind of a more realistic, realistic is maybe not the right word for it, but one of the more grounded in reality shonens out there. Because yeah, if somebody's gonna get really hurt, then they're out. Like that's something Jujutsu Kaisen has not been afraid to do, compared to My Hero Academia or even One Piece. Like they could get hit by a truck and then still get up the next chapter, compared to JJK, not so much. But yeah, I guess what I'm hoping is going to happen next. I'm hoping another sorcerer shows up. I'm almost wondering if domain expansion's not going to happen because of those lovely teases. But I mean, we don't know enough about Charles. Like, I don't know if he has fought other sorcerers. I mean, he even says before he does this, he's like, "Why are you posing?" So it kind of gives me the idea that he hasn't experienced other sorcerers, let alone a domain expansion. So I'm hoping that we get it, but Gege does a great job of making us think one thing's going to happen and then showing us something else that is not as cool, but still cool. It gets us to where we need to go. How about you guys? Where's what's happening in 183?
Well, something that just occurred to me while you were talking is I have a feeling in the next chapter that there'll be like a time jump and we'll get like a narration from Gege or something, saying that something horrible happens, like that Charles experiences something so horrendous within the domain expansion that the battle just ended and we see the aftermath of it. I think that might be. I'm beginning to think that might happen just because Gege's been teasing on like what Hikari's power actually is, and maybe we won't actually see it happen. Not just because Charles is like, okay, I give up, but because it actually happens, but we aren't shown it. I'm wondering if that's going to happen. That's where I'm at. That's where my money is.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's totally viable. And I mean, the whole idea of this ability being called an idle death gamble. I mean, it's he's gambling something, and if it's something as simple as, I'm willing to bet my life that you're not going to move your left foot, or something stupid like that, and Hikari or Charles, makes the wrong call, and I think it'd be really dumb if I'm wrong, I die immediately, and then Hikari dies, and we're like, oh well, that was a lot of time to set this guy up. That was kind of lame. I'm not thinking that's how it's gonna go, but yeah, I'm definitely curious. How about you, Ben, Mr.
Yeah,
Assistant?
well, I don't think that Bernard is going to die as well. Like I feel like
Oh,
he's
no.
going to be in the game for a bit longer.
Yeah.
Because like none of the characters who have had this sort of like profile done on them have actually died. And Charles got that whole like culling game participant Charles Bernard profile going into his backstory in the last chapter. So I agree with y'all that he's not gonna be knocked out completely. He's gonna still be around. But I honestly don't know, and this is just a testament to Gege's unpredictability. I honestly don't know either way, like if we're gonna see Hikari's powers or not. I will choose to believe that we will see what goes on in his domain expansion, just because I'll be happier if I'm right.
Putting
But
that energy out
uh,
there.
yeah, but like I could easily see this, going the way that Steven said, or like just going in a completely different direction than what we expect, than what the ending pages would lead us to believe. Um, And I think that's one of the most exciting things about Jujutsu Kaisen is that you never quite know what you're going to get in a given chapter. You never quite know how things are going to go.
Yeah, I think so. That almost made me think of. I wonder if somebody's going to show up because we've established that Charles can tell the future if he has enough of somebody's blood. So I think it'd be kind of cool if some evil figure shows up and they're like, "Ooh, you can tell me my future? I'll take all this blood," and they like chop off their hand and
All this
put it
blood.
in there, and then he sees his future and is terrified of it, and I think that could be pretty
That's actually
compelling.
kind of interesting. I like
Yeah,
that. Like he could be used. Like, oh, that I do like that. I hope that
yeah, that's
I do. I like that a lot.
Yeah, because I
Huh.
mean, you set
yeah,
something up like I can tell the future, and just like, oh, okay, well, you could use that to tell where a punch is coming, or you could tell that to make a huge prophecy that will change the entire world. Who knows?
Uh, I like that. I like that a
yeah.
lot. Hmm.
So
Yeah, now I'm considering it, and I'm wondering what the limitation, like how far you can actually uh, see it, because I assume there's a limit on how much ink G War staff can hold, but it's a big staff.
yeah,
Like
Right. Yeah.
you could probably fit a fair amount of ink in there.
yeah, absolutely, and yeah, I mean, it's not not a lot of times in storytelling where you establish somebody who can essentially see into the future, and then you don't do some cool stuff with it. So,
Yeah,
I mean, right when I first read it, I was just like, oh wow, so he's kind of got like a poor man's ultra instinct.
Hmm. Hmm.
He can see what the next panel is going to be, and he can just instinctively know where not to be. But yeah, I'm definitely excited. At the end of the day, I'm excited to see more details about his power. Definitely not disappointed with it. I think it's a really creative, innovative way or ability for a manga sorcerer to have, and yeah, excited to see more. But
yeah.
yeah, unless you guys have anything off you want to get off your chest about this chapter, I think we could probably move into plugs.
Yeah. Plug sounds
Uh,
good.
All right,
I have
cool.
one last thing, just because
Shoot, Ben.
uh, there's just so much going on. Uh, I really love, and this is something that Jujutsu Kaisen constantly does. I just really love how the fights use the sort of surrounding objects and locations to just spice themselves up a bit. Like the fight starts out on a Ferris wheel, and they jump down onto like um, a building, and then they jump into the park. And they fight like it doesn't really impact things too much, but it makes the fight seem a lot more dynamic rather than them just being in like a flat stone plaza like beating each other up. Like
Yeah, like an abandoned warehouse or an abandoned playground that there's nothing around it.
yeah.
Yeah, just using the space. But yeah, I think that may have been why we started on a Ferris wheel. So we were kind of higher up, and them exploding out of it could have gotten anybody's attention in the area. So yeah,
Oh, that's a good. Yeah.
I'm definitely thinking somebody else is going to show up. But yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and move into plugs. It's a yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with the observation. That's something I think JJK has always done a really good job with determining the areas and stuff, especially with the last Megami fight.
Mm.
The whole
Yes.
gym thing
Yes.
was pivotal and brilliantly done.
That's exactly what I was thinking while you guys were talking. Yeah, like it was the first time they used the outside of a domain expansion as part of a domain expansion battle. Like it was, oh, I loved it. So yeah, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, this has been another episode of Mega Manga Mondays. Check out our other episodes. We talk about series like One Piece, Boruto, Dragon Ball Super, My Hero Academia, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, we got a few episodes coming out today, this Monday, and we try to have episodes come out every Monday. But if you want to reach out to us, have any comments, feel free to find us on Twitter at Manga Mondays, and or if you just
Oh,
search
it's a Twitter. Oh, nice.
No, I didn't know.
oh yeah, we got a Twitter, and we got a whole like 9 followers, but we'll get up there.
Yeah.
But we're on YouTube, and just type us into Google and you'll find some good stuff. But I am Jason Hahn. I'm a writer for Screen Rant. Definitely check out screenrant.com for comics, very interesting comic articles, video game news and movies, all that kind of good stuff. I also do a YouTube series called Honzy and Friends, where I do comedic let's plays and streaming. And the next stream we've got coming up on May the 4th, going to be playing Star Wars Force Unleashed and raising money for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Kind of helping out a fundraiser that rose over $200,000 to help kids with cancer and
Oh wow.
that
That's
hospital.
awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm going to see if I can help them out. And feel free to come hang out and say hi in the chat and all that good stuff. But Steven, you got anything you want to recommend or plug, man?
I mean, the big thing was what I was talking about in the intro, just about how this is the first Blue Exorcist chapter in almost a whole year. So this is very exciting for us Blue Exorcist fans who've been waiting, anxiously waiting. It's also it was a good week for Sonic the Hedgehog fans. I'm not going to try to go too much in the weeds, but there's two things going on in the Sonic world in IDW series. Like there's the regular series, and then there's also the tie-in series. It's like this little special event called Imposter Syndrome. So every month it's either the normal series, and then the next month is the Imposter Syndrome, and the next month is Sonic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And usually the Imposter Syndrome has been really giving some life to the IDW Sonic series. It's been struggling a little bit as of lately, but the Imposter Syndrome has been really giving it that much needed boost. And what was really exciting last week is that the actual Sonic series outside of Imposter Syndrome just had a massive moment. And I'm sure that Sonic fans have been really enjoying it just because it's about Dr. Eggman's alter ego, the good alter ego. Like we learned some more about him, Mr. Tinker, and his relationship with his creation, Bell the Tinkerer. So it was a good time for Sonic fans as well.
Wow, I have no idea all this is happening. where can people check out more Sonic the Hedgehog stories?
Yeah, well, it's all on IDW. Like that's the ongoing series. My favorite will always be the now discontinued series by Archie Comics. That one was right now IDW. It can't hold a candle to Archie, but right now, it's doing a good job.
It's trying.
There's a lot of feelings there. It's interesting that one of the main writers who took over Archie Comics after this huge thing happened is the same writer for IDW now. So it's interesting. There's a lot of stuff going on.
All right, hell yeah. How about you, Ben?
So nothing to plug just yet, but in terms of manga, the monthly chapters came out on Sunday, and Showa Shoten is very fun. It's basically Death Note. Death Note's like the mangaka behind Death Note made a manga about comedy and comedy performances. So
fascinating. I didn't know it was the same author as Death Note.
Yeah, no, it's I think it is.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, it is. I read the first two chapters, but then I got disinterested, unfortunately, so I stopped reading it. But you're liking it?
Yeah, no, I really enjoy it. But I'm a sucker for all sorts of like performance mangas. Like I'm loving Akane Banashi as well, which is another one going on, and of course PPP.
Oh yeah, no, that one. It's on another level. That's
Oh yeah.
It's one of my favorite new series. Yeah,
the art's just incredible. So if you're into those sorts of performance stuff, check out any of those. They're all very fun. But in the world of just like superhero comics, the Swamp Thing series is extremely good, and the issue that came out this past week was extremely good as well. And it's just a very, very cool series. Its art is incredible. It's doing a lot of cool things to Swamp Thing lore, which I'm not sure how much people care about here, but it's it's very it's doing a really good job. So.
Well, actually, like kind of go off of that. I mean, because you're more into that than I am. But I remember a little while, it was a couple of months ago, there was like a Swamp Thing horror miniseries. Is that still going on, or is that?
Yeah, so they expanded it. Or oh wait, are you talking about Green Hell? Because it's not Green Hell, but I forget when exactly Green Hell came out.
It was like last year, but like I just
Yeah,
remember.
I think that's this. Yeah, because they continued the Swamp Thing series that was going last year because it was so
Cool.
popular.
Oh,
And
that's good. I'm glad they did that because I mean, like I'm not into this one thing, but I remember I read the first issue, and I was like, "Whoa, this is dark."
yeah, no, it's keeping that up.
Oh,
And
nice.
the art is just incredible, and it's just firing on all cylinders. So, yeah,
Yeah, no,
Fantastic.
yeah. I mean, coming from me, like I'm not into the superheroes as much, but I really, really liked that first issue that I read. Like, yeah, like I'll mirror exactly what you said. Like, the art is phenomenal.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
and it's
well
gotten
done.
better if you can believe that.
Wow,
Like,
really? That's nuts.
yeah,
Well, there you
there was
guys
some.
have it. As you can tell, we have a wide variety of comic book knowledge. So feel free to check out ScreenRant.com comic section because they cover everything from manga to DC to Marvel to all of it. So check it out, and I'm sure there's bound to be a few things to pique your interest. But this has been an episode of Mega Manga Monday for Jujutsu Kaisen 182, was it?
Oh
Yes.
yeah,
All
because I've
right.
been thinking
Yep.
2.82. Yeah.
All right. Hell yeah. Well, we're currently doing this episode on Golden Week, but we should have new chapters to talk about next week. I'm looking forward to it, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for your time. I'm Jason Hahn, and this has been another Mega Manga Mondays, and hope you guys have a good one.